Cities are humanity's most complex and remarkable achievement. Where forests and meadows once stood, we now see asphalt roads and towering skyscrapers. But every time humans built a city, other animals and plants had to fight a tough battle to adapt to this new environment. Those who couldn't adjust either went extinct or were pushed out of the city. Even today, some species that can't handle the city's electromagnetic waves are quietly disappearing. If you see an animal thriving in the city, you can be sure it's one of the winners of this challenging survival game. One of these winners is the pigeon. Even though many people don't appreciate them these days, pigeons have taken over parks and squares in cities not just in our country, but all around the world. Other birds don't even dare to enter their territory. So what special abilities do pigeons have that let them share space with unpredictable humans and outperform other animals in our big cities? Pigeons were originally cliff-dwelling birds. Their ancestor was the rock dove, a species that made its home on seaside cliffs. About 10,000 years ago, people in Mesopotamia and Egypt started raising them for food, beginning the long relationship between humans and pigeons. As humans rapidly developed, their small villages grew into large cities, while most animals and plants were forced out. As cities expanded, pigeons were different. In fact, they got lucky and found a great opportunity to become the dominant birds of the city. This happened because humans built cities near coasts and rivers, exactly the kind of environment pigeons love. As their name, rock dove, suggests, they prefer hard surfaces like concrete, stone, and marble over ground or grass. You see, animals don't actually distinguish between natural and artificial things. They just see environments they need to adapt to. That's why pigeons easily adjusted to buildings getting taller and taller. The buildings felt familiar to pigeons because they were just like the natural cliffs they used to call home. Window ledges, air conditioners, protruding balconies, and large signs were perfect spots for pigeons to build nests, just like the cracks in cliff faces. That's why even today, you'll find lots of pigeons in big coastal cities like Paris, Amsterdam, Rome, and Sydney. Humans happened to build cities in environments that pigeons were already comfortable with, which gave them a head start compared to other animals and plants. But to become a winner in these complex cities, this advantage alone wasn't enough. They needed to solve the most important problem: finding food. In this aspect too, pigeons were born to be city birds. While most birds need to eat natural foods like fruits, berries, and insects, pigeons can eat almost anything. They're especially good at eating human food. Whether it's cookies, bread, or potato chips, they'll eat it all. The ability to eat human leftovers is what really sets pigeons apart from other animals. As cities grew larger and more crowded, while other animals struggled to survive, pigeons actually found it easier to get more food. That's why you see so many pigeons in city parks and squares. They go where the people go. This meant city pigeons didn't need to fly far and wide looking for food. They could easily find their daily requirement of 20 to 50 grams just by hanging around the city. So what did pigeons do with all their extra time? They focused on having babies. Having their food needs taken care of meant they could spend more time breeding, which gave them another advantage over other city animals and birds. Normal pigeons lay eggs once or twice a year, 2 eggs at a time. But city pigeons can have more than 10 babies in a year. What's more, their babies have a very high survival rate, thanks to something special called pigeon milk. Both mother and father pigeons produce this special milk, which is packed with proteins, fats, and immunity-boosting nutrients. Because of this superfood, baby pigeons grow very quickly and can live independently after just 46 days. This is another big advantage compared to other animals. Pigeons only stop having babies when there's no food around. This has been observed worldwide. Just like there are people who feed stray animals, there are people who feed pigeons. When officials ask these people to stop feeding pigeons, it's actually to try to control their population by limiting their food supply. Another thing that makes cities great for pigeons is that they have almost no natural predators there. In the wild, pigeons have to watch out for northern goshawks, Eurasian sparrowhawks, and hobbies. But these birds are very rare in cities. Plus, pigeons are masters of quick flight. They can stop suddenly and change direction in mid-air. This means that even when these predators are in the city, they find it really hard to catch pigeons. In cities, their only predators are magpies and cats. But pigeons are so alert that even these animals aren't much of a threat. One reason wild animals struggle in cities is the complicated urban layout. Buildings and roads are always changing, which makes it really hard for animals to move around. But pigeons are excellent at finding their way. They were even used as message carriers in the past. They seem to be born with a kind of GPS system that can detect Earth's magnetic field. Thanks to this ability, no matter how complex the city gets, pigeons can remember where to find food and always make it back home safely. The final reason pigeons succeed at living with humans in these huge cities is their intelligence. People often use bird brain as an insult, but you can't say that about pigeons. As mentioned earlier, pigeons can remember exactly where they found lots of food, even in the most complicated places. But that's not all. Amazingly, pigeons can tell the difference between people who are friendly to them and those who aren't. According to a French research team's experiment, pigeons would easily approach people who fed them, but would remember and avoid people who had chased them away aggressively. This was true even when people changed their clothes. Some studies even suggest that with training, pigeons can count up to 9 and sort pictures. Though we're not quite sure how much to believe. Still, seeing how well they use human structures, follow people who feed them, and skillfully dodge cars and bicycles, it's clear that pigeons are pretty smart. Cities aren't just for humans. Just like dogs and cats have their roles living alongside humans, pigeons have become efficient city cleaners. They help dispose of a lot of the waste that humans leave behind. Some scientists even say that without city pigeons, we'd have many more rats on our streets, and the risk of disease spread would be much higher than it is now. In recent years, more people seem to be disliking pigeons because they might spread diseases like bird flu. But whenever spaces are shared, conflicts happen, even between humans. Whether we like them or not, it seems impossible to avoid pigeons if we live in cities. When I see pigeons during my walks, I often think about how they've adapted and survived alongside humans for 10,000 years. Maybe they've earned their place in our cities too.